When somebody gives you the buying signal, you check the temperature, how does this look? Is this something you can see for your home? Would you like to go ahead and, make a commitment? And if they say yes, why wouldn't you, right? They're saying, please sell me.
Hey, how's it going? It's Tim Brown, and this is the Hook Better Leads podcast. And today I've got Paul Burleson on. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks so much for letting me be here, Tim. Appreciate it. Honor.
Absolutely. It's Westlake Royal Building Products, and he does consulting for them. If you're working with them, apparently, this is complimentary if you're ever buying from them. So that's really cool, man. I'm excited to talk to you about two things today. One, where we're coming from in roofing sales and home services, contractors, to where we are now and where we're going to be, as well as why people should stop selling for just purely insurance proceeds. And this doesn't mean you don't want the insurance proceeds. It just means don't let that be the end of the sale. There's opportunity to build up something more ideal for the customer. So, Paul, if you don't mind, give us a little bit of your background here before we get started.
So absolutely. So I am blessed to have started this business in 1983 as the youngest canvasser in the history of home improvements. And it's never been a turn back since then. So I worked for some of the top, what they used to call the blue suede shoes, the 10-man companies back in the day, from Amory and then on to pace setters and statewide. But I was into a business that was all about the process. It was about the system of going in the home and not taking no and spending 4 hours and 6 hours. And I kind of was raised in that culture. And then I evolved into manufacturing, being able to work and train home improvement companies around the country for companies like Owens Corning, Reynolds Aluminum, Alcoa, Plygem, and then where I've been in the Westlake Royal Crane kind of merger for the past 17 years. But what's great about my job, Tim, is I travel 280 days a year all over the country, US, Canada, wherever I'm needed. And I work even on the front end with helping create selling systems, retail programs for roofing companies, to creating siding selling systems, to how do you create AI and technology, and what does the world look like as far as robotics. So where we started and where it's going is a completely different evolution, and I'm excited to talk to you about that today.
Automate your communication with ProLine, the only communication-first CRM for roofers. Because when you fix your communication, you'll sell more jobs.
We had 200% growth, and I attribute that to ProLine.
But just with one automation, I was able to get 25 Google reviews.
ProLine's not going to win the beauty pageant, but it will save your Saturday.
It's really interesting. I have a lot of sales gurus on my show and on my YouTube channel, but I think the toughest part, you talked about creating systems. The toughest part we all get, because I feel like there's a lot of really sharp gurus out there, really sharp sales coaches. Actually, I think there's so many good ones. But a lot of them feel to me like they're good at coaching one-to-one. And it's hard to create a system that then can be applied consistently. And how do you create that through the whole team, not just to one guy? Like, okay, anyone can ride along with somebody and go help them sell, and then they can come out of it like in a transformed, oh, I get it now I can sell. Anyone, not anyone, but a lot of people can do that. The hardest part is like, how can you get, a couple of sales leaders in place that then will consistently bake the sales process throughout the team? That seems hard. That seems really hard.
Well, it is. There's several different approaches. So there's one company that is the top remodeling company in the country. I won't mention their name, but they have the ability to hire young people who've never had a job before, never sold anything in their life, and be able to create a process and system that they follow. And what I've been able to create is the importance in the warm-up, right? Because you treat every single customer like it's your grandmother, your grandfather, and you build, because people buy people. And it's that good feeling. And how do you learn the art of telling your story and involving humor into that process? So we start at the foundation. and then they go through and they do the measuring, and then they do the presentation, and then they go through the trial closes and checking the temperature. That is a structured approach, but there is more of an evolution into a contingency approach because every homeowner is different, right? Every need's different. A lot of times, some people try to follow the process the whole way through, and the customer's like, "Hey, I'm ready to buy over here. Take my order." But they're still trying to go through the process. So I
What do
think
you
there is
think on
an
that? Do you think you should just skip to the close if that's what people are ready for?
Well, here's the thing. When somebody gives you the buying signal, you check the temperature. How does this look? Is this something you can see for your home? Would you like to go ahead and, make a commitment? And if they say yes, why wouldn't you, right? They're saying, please sell me, right? So you have to be able to acknowledge and read those things. And the biggest mistake that salespeople make is they don't ask the right questions, right? They don't match needs. They don't find a way. I feel a customer is going to decide what they're going to buy from you in the first 5 seconds. I really do. From your passion, from your eye contact. Do you listen with your body? Are you vocally pacing them? Do you look professional when they're watching on the Ring camera when you pull up in front of the house, right? They're making these judgments. So how can you control those judgments? And it goes back to mindset, being able to psychologically prepare yourself to not get turned away when you hear the word no.
Going to try to pin you down on that last question there. Do you think you should skip to the close of somebody's? Do you say you just go for it? I'm curious because we literally just went through that recently, and I'm trying to figure out how we should do it.
I absolutely think if you're making so what's your commitment objective when you go into them? Commitment objective is to meet a need that the customer has, identify the need, and meet the need. If they acknowledge to you that your product is meeting their need and they're ready to move forward, what advantage do you have to skirt by that and not react to that temperature check?
Well, okay, just to play devil's advocate for a second, I think some people would say sometimes a buying signal is like there's a false buying signal or whatever, and
Right.
they want to get through all the objections so that if they don't do it, then they at least feel like, you know what I mean? Like they feel like they got through a few more things. Like, and I do agree, like the process, all these coaches, we've been hammering process, don't skip steps. So I think that's partly why it gets confusing too.
Well, validate their temperature check, right? So, Mr. Jones, it seems to me like you're really interested. Did you like what you saw today? Can you see how this can really make your home healthy or make it look the way you want? You feel comfortable with the financing? Does this meet all your expectations of what you thought it was going to be? Yes. Okay, well, it seems to me that you're completely satisfied. And if you're okay, I'd like to just go ahead and move through this process, get all the paperwork filled out, get it scheduled so we can get this started as soon as possible. You ready to go? And just go right into it.
We're also kind of talking about where it's come from and where it's going and where it is right now. I think where we are right now on sales, in so many ways, we're at this spot where you want to remove steps that are unnecessary, right? We want the process to be the process, but without any extra shit. And that's what I think gets a little confusing when sales coaches and stuff are selling their whole system, because it gets really involved.
Right.
We've got the 7-step, 10-step, 20-step stuff.
Yeah.
It's harder to get everyone on the team sticking with it, because we want something sticky and that everyone feels comfortable with. And B, some homeowners just want to buy. How can we make it simpler? You know what I mean? I'm thinking about like our CRM right now. And yeah, there's this nice proposal system, but I ultimately want it to be like financing number, signature, button. You know what I mean? I want the ultimate, like on phone. I want to be able to be driving and sign and go, because some customers are like that. And then you can go down to all the rest of the proposal language. But I'm thinking usability, because I'm from websites and stuff like that. I'm like think about a guy with one eye driving And can he sign the proposal? You know what I mean? Like, I just want it to be super basic and simple. Are there any other steps in the sales process that you've seen people include that you would get rid of? Like, how can we simplify the sales process?
One thing I think, so a lot of my data I get from speech analytics, working with companies like Rilla, having access to listen to thousands of hours of presentations from roofing customers, to siding customers, window customers, and being able to not only look at what the AI coach says, but what I feel. And what I see a lot of people doing is they never acknowledge the true problem in the home. They don't ask, why did you call me? Why I'm here? What is it you're trying to accomplish? They come straight in, and all they want to do is tell you about how great the product is, or how great they are, how great the company, but they don't create that bond. And what people forget, you're asking sometimes people to spend 35, 40, 50, sometimes 80, $90,000. And that's maybe what people make an entire year as a household income. And you're coming in an hour and a half, 2 hours, me trying to convince you right now, Tim, to give me all this money. And you don't even know who I am. You don't even know if I'm an expert. You don't know why I've earned the right to be in your home. You don't even know if you like me yet. So the biggest problem is people I always say it this way, they don't build a stage and put the customer on the stage and let the customer perform. You're there to understand the customer's needs. You're there to get the customer talking. You're not there to be talking the whole time. If you look at the talk rate and the talk rate of the salesperson versus the talk rate of the customer, sometimes it's 70-30 or 65-35, or 40-60-40, because all they want to do is tell you their needs. But the reason you're there is to meet the customer's needs. And that is where I see the ball is dropped a lot, is that people don't focus on what the customer's trying to accomplish. Why are you even here? Why did they pick up the phone and call you? There's always a reason. If it's, a storm related situation, it's maybe the roof is leaking, right? But somebody calls you for siding or windows. Why did they decide to call you now? Have they called somebody else? What did you like about the other guy that came to your home? What didn't you like? So I think that's one of the biggest things that I see. And the other thing is people are not educated on their product enough. For example, the consumer today will go to ChatGPT and say, I've got ABC company coming to my home today trying to sell me roofing, siding, and windows. What things should I be alerted to? What questions should I ask? And they have this whole list, right? They say they sell ABC product. Tell me all the features and benefits. So they're prepared. In most cases, not most cases, some cases, the consumer perceives they know more about the product. When they start asking questions, the salesperson can't even answer questions about their own product, and that becomes a problem.
Yeah, that's definitely a big shift happening now. And in some types of remodeling, it's even bigger, where the customer, is doing ChatGPT with themselves and thinks they've got this information. It's hard to take back that positioning as the expert once it's gone into that direction. And I think that is a challenge. However, it's interesting. Somebody was talking to me about this yesterday. Actually, 2 days ago. I was in Vegas for a show. It was an HVAC show. And he was talking about how these are the things I think about. I'm not going to out the guy, but it matters. He's talking about he has had to lay people off recently. B, he's frustrated with today's buyer and that particular dynamic where they think they know something and it's harder to sell in certain ways. C, he wants to be a coach. I'm like, oh no, I don't want to hear when somebody's laying people off that they want to be a business coach all of a sudden. God, that hurts my heart. Because that's how some of this shit starts. And that's what people hate about gurus, is that they didn't succeed and now they're coaching. It's tough because I always think you should be, if you're going to be a profit king, first be a king, then become a prophet. You know what I mean? But in this case, he felt that way. I don't think you need to allow the frame. It's a homeowner can try to take the frame, right? As the expert. And if you need to know enough to be able to take back the frame. You need to say, there's a lot of information out there, but I wouldn't necessarily believe every source I've heard because there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of people sharing information that don't necessarily know. And about your products, you don't have to be the best expert about every single product, but about the products you're selling and the immediate competitors, you should know some things, why that's a better product, and very specifically, your products be the best expert out there compared to anyone else. Like, I think that this is why it's good to have a tighter subsection of products that you offer versus, so many that you can't be an expert.
Right. And what I've always learned is if I'm in the home, and I am a training sales coach. And what I mean by that is actually a salesman. I go in the home with people at least 3 to 4 times a month. I understand the needs. I do focus groups at shows with homeowners, at home shows. I'll pull people together because I want to understand the psychology of how and why people buy. So if I'm in the home, Tim, thank you for coming in. Have you done any research? Have you looked at, generative AI or anything? Have you learned about our products? Or how did you prepare, for this meeting today? I asked those questions. And 9 times out of 10, if they did, they'll tell you and say, thank you. I appreciate you learning and wanting to know about the product because you should never buy a product that you're not 100% comfortable with on your home. And really acknowledge them for what they're doing instead of viewing it as a negative. I take and spin it as a positive.
Yeah. I love Joe Crisera is another home service sales coach. He does basically he affirms people, like you're kind of saying you're doing a great job. Like he says, he calls it magic moments. And he's like, can I share something with you, Paul?
Yes.
And then he goes, I just want to say that you're doing the exact right thing by helping taking care of this for your family today. I'm really proud of you. For a lot of people wait until this gets bad and ends up being a really negative thing for the health of their family or whatever. But for you, I'm proud of you that you got ahead of it. Basically he's affirming them. Yeah. He's encouraging them because it is true to a certain degree. Like you were talking about, you call this the sick home system, right? This idea of homeowners could wait until something is destroyed with these products. But you kind of teach people how to position it almost as the health of their home and family, right?
Right. And, the evolution of my style is different. So like you said, I am an OG. I've been doing this a long time. I grew up learning from Tony Alessandra personally, Zig Ziglar. I've spoke on the circuit. Here's how old I am. I saw Dave Yoho the first time on stage when I was 12 years old in 1983. And, I said, Dave, one day I'm going to be on stage with you. He laughed. And I got inducted into the Home Improvement Hall of Fame in May. So I've been around Rick Grosso and Dave Yoho and Rodney Webb. We used to work in the same office together and all these industry legends. And I've taken their styles and then I've learned from Chris Voss and all the newer approaches and coaches. And then I try to understand the market, add in technology and AI, and create a way that people can repeat the process, right?
That's the hardest part.
What's that?
That's the hardest part, I feel is getting one person. I have no doubt people could get one guy a killer, but how do you get a team of 5? And how do you transfer all this information into their head?
You hire the right person. Here's the nugget. You hire the right person, add the skill. Think about that. Hire the right person and add the skill. And the biggest mistake I see in sales management, sales training, they take a salesman, maybe had bad habits, now they make him a sales manager that manages the same bad habits that he had as a salesperson. He doesn't evolve and has trouble making people better because he didn't want to go through the process, and now he's being held accountable to teach,
Uh,
if that makes sense.
that
So,
does make sense.
so getting
Yeah, I think
getting the
sometimes
right.
there's just magic. There's people that feel like they're really good at selling, and so like maybe they're not that great at the process or everything. Sometimes people are less good at the process because they're better at selling.
Yeah,
Like
I mean, you know, okay. So I mentioned to you earlier, I'm in Montgomery, Alabama. I just trained a whole room full of salespeople this morning at 7 a.m. Right, and I explained to them, you are in a industry, the greatest industry in the world, because you literally get up every day and go and help and change people's lives. I think, Tim, we miss sometimes what this is really about. When you sell products, not only do you make your somebody's home healthy and efficient and save on money, but you make them feel proud. I mean, what if there was a little kid who didn't feel equal because his home didn't look as good as the kids across the street, and now coming with these products and all these things, now his home gives him self-esteem and he feels good. And he goes on to make better grades in school and gets a scholarship and he goes to college. Like, it all can start. Or maybe with a little woman who grew up as a little girl with a dollhouse. And she looked at that dollhouse and had this vision, because that's what little girls do, this beautiful home. Now you've helped this vision become reality. And like, you get paid to change people's lives. And when I focus on and teach people to focus on helping the customer, don't see a customer in how much money you're going to make. Don't look at a job as how much profit. Look at a chance to change people's lives. And when you live with that servant type mentality and mindset and really get excited about helping people, the money comes. You have more fun and you feel good about doing something for the industry that's making people feel good about what you've done for them.
it's a really good place to simmer for a second. Yeah, I think I've shared this probably every 100 episodes on this podcast. I'm like 400 in or something. But a friend of mine, Torlando Hakes, talked about, basically I'm just re-saying what you just said. So I'm not trying to steal your thunder. I just think this is a good place to hang out for a second. He talks about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And at the bottom is like, air and food and all that. And at the top is self-actualization. And he talks about how remodeling and our home being our sanctuary can be the top. It can essentially be very connected to feeling fulfilled. Just like you're saying, so you're allowing people, when you sell and sell well, when you get people what they need and you're a solutions helper, you can create that for people, that feeling of fulfillment. And at our very best, I think that I honestly, I can tell sometimes when somebody's not that great at sales, because I can tell they think they're being sneaky.
Right.
You know what
Right.
I mean? Like, I'm like, it's these, I'll just say it. Somebody's going to hate me, but whatever. It's these guys that sell $1 million and they think that they're like a killer. You know what I mean? You're not a killer at $1 million. And if you think, because they look like they're kind of like, ha, like I got them.
Right.
It's like that vibe is going to keep you at $1 million. That vibe of like, I got one over on the homeowner is going to hold you back. Like, I think
Right.
the ability that is good. You did good. $1 million is good, is what I'm saying. But to go further, you have to have a bigger mindset about how you're helping people and how you could change their life in a positive way. And the other identity transformation is like, if I don't close this deal, they might get taken advantage of by a less scrupulous contractor, which is like another big shift, which is like, then you have more duty to make sure you close the deal. So I think that there's like these good, to me, these mindset shifts, even though they feel kind of fluffy and out there, are actually probably some of the most useful sales tactics. If there, if there's any real,
Yeah.
that they feel pretty legit. How big of a difference they can make if you just switch your mindset.
Does your company want to build your brand and get more jobs in the neighborhoods you're currently working in?
The Brick by Brick playbook allows you to establish your brand, your reputation, and gain trust in any neighborhood in your service area with a series of 4 postcards sent once a week to the neighbors of your current jobs. If you want to get more work in the neighborhoods you're currently working in, get with the team at Dope Marketing and get your Brick by Brick playbook set up today.
And that's the evolution. That's what I don't think a lot of people understand. Like, I was raised in that culture where we made people buy things that they didn't need and didn't want. And we would high pressure and we would spend 6 hours in the home and we would not leave and we would do the porch light closes and we would come in with crazy things like a sleeping bag and say, well, my boss, if I didn't get an order tonight, I have to stay here. Like, we would go in and take command. All this is in my book, Brick to Gold, but I was trained to go into the home and do what was called a sandwich close, Tim. I would walk in straight to the person's kitchen and I'd open the refrigerator. They usually had bread in back in the days, and I would just start making a sandwich. If they didn't throw me out, they bought every time.
That's so funny.
And then, whenever we sign a little contract with a little old lady, we'd put it on top of a refrigerator so she couldn't find it for 3 days or reach it, so she couldn't cancel. I mean, like, that's where this business came from. Like, they were killers. They were making $2,000 to $3,000 profit in 1983 when minimum wage was $1.65. Like, it was these were people who traveled from town to town. They had no connections to the city. They would just rob, steal, take all the money. They would fill out these forms for FHA loans, get the money, and not do the job, go and forge the check and then skip town. Like, where that was, and me growing up in that, I had a chance to change the narrative. I had a chance to take the good pieces of everything they were doing, like the planning and preparation and the training and, creating excitement. The better the show, the better the dough, and transition that into a consultative approach, which actually really trying to help people and do the right thing.
Okay, better the show, the better the dough. Love that term. Where is that? Do you know where that came from? Because I've heard that from different people. I didn't. Do you know where that originally came from?
So that was a toss up. I heard it from Dave Yoho many, many years ago in the late 80s, early 90s, but I've also heard Rick Grosso use it as well. So I really think there's a probability that could have came, as much as I go back and think about, it could have came from Zig Ziglar.
It sounds like something Zig would say for sure. I love that one. I don't know that it's as popular in roofing as I've seen it in some other niches. What does that mean to you? Because I think that is a usable chunk from the old school that the new school needs to learn. What does that mean to you right now? Like, let's say if you were going in and selling a roof, what is the better the show, the better the dough, or the bigger the show, the bigger the dough? What does that mean to you?
So let's channel back a second. Think about the mental process the person is going through, whether it's, let's say, a storm-related claim, or it's a situation where they just want to add a new roof. So they're already feeling anxiety, right? Some sort of anxiety. So what you've got to do, and this is what people understand, a higher probability of you closing a sale is not only better the show, better the dough, but making people laugh. If people like you and they laugh, and you do that by learning the art of telling your story. But the psychology in this is the art of telling your story is for one reason. When I'm telling my story, I'm giving you permission to tell your story. So how many times you looked at somebody and you're talking and they're waiting on you to stop so they can tell you their story, right? So you create an opportunity to allow the customer to tell their story, why they're there, and then you try to find ways to. This is a very strenuous process, so you want to make it uplifting, you want to make it fun, and do different things. And one of the things about Bear the Show, Bear the Dough that I do, and that I've been doing for many, many decades, is pet acknowledgement. You may have not heard anybody talk about this way, but pet acknowledgement. And I did some things many years ago that I still teach people to do today. And this may make you chuckle. You may think I'm crazy, but I actually take dog bones and I shrink wrap them or put them in packaging, and I put one in my sock. For years, I would have a dog bone in my sock, and I go in the home. The dogs follow me around everywhere. And Mr. Jones is like, my dog likes you. My dog don't like anybody. And then I get down and I say, Mrs. Jones, I love Rover here. We love dogs at our company. Can I get a picture, put him on our, maybe he could be pet of the month and get him on our Facebook page or Instagram. So I take a picture and the dog's sniffing he'll ask Mrs. Jones, I got to be honest with you. I got a surprise for Rover here in my sock. It's packaged up. We love animals here at Tim Brown Home Improvements. And it's okay if I give him a package. Okay, I give him. So it's okay, get a picture of me. I'm, giving the dog a bone, right? And then all the way through the presentation, I'm like, here's a great thing. We want to put this new roof on your house, Tim. And Rover can lay there with his legs up in there, relax, never to worry about any water ever dripping on him because we're going to make sure it doesn't have any problem. And I tie the dog in. But then when I leave, I take it a step further. I make a dog toy, maybe like a stuffed ball, and I put the name Tim Brown Home Improvements on this dog toy, and I leave the dog toy.
Yeah.
So
okay.
the dog started to follow.
So we made 2,000 for Owl Roofing is what my company's called. We made 2,000 stuffed owls. And I've been thinking about them for kids, but I'm definitely going to leave them for dogs as well. Cause I don't, it's whatever. We got it down to like $3 an owl. And they have like Owl Roofing embroidered on the stomach. It's pretty
beautiful.
Cute.
Yeah. So that's another element of creating a show, right? So then you get people engaged, and what I like to do is I like to get people involved in the process. So what do you think is important, Tim, when it comes, for placing a home? Do you think it's important, in having good sheathing or, understanding the home's area efficient? And I get them involved in the process of trying to sell me of what they think they need to make their home healthy. And then I agree with them because now it's their idea. And then I provide solutions that they ask me for. So these are just some psychology things that I do in creating the better the show, the better the dough.
That is so good. I love that. Man, you're bringing some nuggets here, Paul. I love it. You're really bringing a lot of value to my audience, and I am incredibly
honored to be here.
Thank you. I hear great things about you. I haven't had the pleasure of seeing you speak, but I can tell why. I can tell why they have such positive things to say about you.
Well, I'm everywhere coming up. I'll be at IBS, main stage, Tuesday and Wednesday, 1 o'clock. So come by and see me, and then I'll be everywhere else. Erie Material Show and Yoho events and Grosso events. And if they're paying, I'm staying. So anytime there's a microphone, I'm going to be there.
Yeah. I love that. I'm trying to figure out when the IBS show is. International Builders Show. It's coming up February 17th through the 19th. So this will be out before that show. So go check out Paul. Go support. Go give him some love. And
I may give you a free copy of my book. I'll have some there.
And talk to me a little bit about the book. You kind of mentioned it. It sounds awesome. Can you give people a little bit more about why they should read that?
Yeah, so this book is really a story for anyone who's had hardship, who realizes you can achieve anything you believe. And it's a sad story, Tim, but I wrote this book to really deal with my trauma that I had, to show people if I can do it, anybody can. And it's a very unique story, and I'll just try to give you the highlights. So I didn't have a father. Mother was a prostitute. I got hit by a car when I was 6. I was in a body cast till I was 9.5 years old in my living room, stuck there, and told to never walk again, never be able to be normal. and the things I was seeing, without going into a lot of graphic detail, night after night, I knew I had to find a way out. I knew I just couldn't accept my own fate. So I learned how to walk again, went to a thing called Jerry's Kids, and it took me forever. But then I started selling Grit magazine in front of a Family Dollar at 10 years old, and I would just tell my story like, "Man, would you like to make a magazine?" I was told never to walk again, but now I'm able to walk, and I'm here, to show you this paper. And I would just tell the truth, my story, and share with people, and they would start buying magazines. But they only wanted me to work till Thursdays. They didn't want you to work on the weekends. So I picked up a ad, Archie's comic and it had Mason shoes. You could sell shoes door to door, have a little lab coat. That's where I got the lab coat idea. And then I would take my shoe kit and I go and I measure feet. Well, the first call I made, called on a sales manager of home improvements. I knocked on his door. He made me go through the pitch. Long story short, that Saturday, he let me out. He had put my bike in the back of his Cadillac, took it out, and then here I am, started canvassing. So I never knew. I mean, like, success is when you're on the other side of hard, right? When you're relentless. Like when I was in a house that was so poor that the rats were so big they were chewing through the door, like literally chewing through. I'd lay in bed at night praying, no matter what I had to do to become successful, I was going to do it. But like I could hear the rats chew through the door, and I'd play records so loud so I didn't have to hear it. But I made a commitment that I was going to succeed no matter what it took. And I never lost that desire to win. And I kept evolving. And the unique part of my story was I got a degree also in communications. Long story short, I had a friend whose dad owned the World Boxing Federation. I was there. I did play-by-play in college. Long story short, they didn't have a ring announcer show up, so I ended up announcing World Boxing Federation on ESPN Live, my first time. They loved what I did. So I traveled the world for 9 months, announcing professional boxing. I came off the road and I was running leads. I walked into a pizza joint, met a professional wrestler, Mr. Chris Jericho, and next thing you know, I'm announcing for WCW and on to WWE. And now I've got a career as a professional ring announcer because I didn't fear the chance to do something different. And then I evolved. And then on the home improvement and then the distribution side, somebody, was trying to buy a siding or something from me. I said, what if I can get you an autographed picture of Stone Cold? Would you buy it from me? And then I used those relationships to build other relationships. And I just kept building. First website, 1995. First YouTube, 2005 testimonial. And just kept evolving through remote virtual measuring and chasing the unknown. Disruptive technology because I have nothing to fear. You can take everything away from me and I'm going to get it back because I don't have family. I'm not married. I don't have any kids. I'm committed to this business at a level no one else ever will be because I want to give the world a chance to see and have what I have if they just believe. And that is my mission, is to help people become better. I will peddle plastic till I hit the casket. I will do whatever it takes because I am committed to do my part to keep this industry alive so people like me have a chance to be everything they deserve to be. So Grit to Gold tells those stories. It's the first book that ever talks about all the 10-man cons and scams and all the hustles. It's never been in print. No one has ever talked about these things. I've waited 20 years. I had to wait for a couple of people to pass away so I didn't get whacked because this business was controlled by the mob in the early years. I need to tell all the history of that. So it's just a great feel-good story. It's 111 pages. It's a 2-hour read, but it inspires people to see where I come from. And if I can do that, there's no reason they can't have what they want as well.
You love to hear it. You love to see it. I also might have seen you announce Rick Ross coming on stage one time.
Yes.
That's my claim to fame. That was fun.
Yes, that was in Dallas.
Yeah. So you've gotten to do a lot of crazy stuff. Check out his book, everyone. Appreciate you being on. And I really am grateful for all the wisdom you shared. Check out Westlake Royal Building Products. and IBS and watch him speak. So thank you for being on. Podcast is put on by Hook Agency.
Thank you, Hook.
hookagency.com all over. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and read a recent review for us. Just so people know that we're a real company, that type of thing. Marcus Sheridan recently said, I run a pool company, and a few years ago we tried paid advertising on Google. True story, we spent $120,000 in 1 year and didn't get a single sale from it. I didn't believe the numbers myself, but that's what happened. With Hook, everything flipped. This last year we spent far less than before, and we generated well over $1 million in sales from paid ads. Next year, as we keep expanding, we'll likely double or even triple our investment with Hook, which he has recently done. They've been great to work with. They get us, and they're growing with us. It's been a fantastic experience. If you've tried paid ads before and it didn't work, you probably just didn't have the right agency. When you find a team that actually knows what they're doing, the impact on your bottom line is unreal. Thank you, Marcus, for that vote of confidence. And appreciate everyone for watching. Check out the next episode. And if you get a chance, review the podcast. If people like this bring you value, review the podcast and go check out what he's doing. Like, the reason people come on is because people look at what they're doing and sometimes work with them. So please check out what he's doing.
LinkedIn, Paul Burleson, Remodeling Rockstar on Instagram, Remodeling Rockstar on TikTok, YouTube, Paul Burleson. I'm out there. Google the name. You'll see 20 pages. I'm out there. I appreciate the support.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, Paul Burleson. LinkedIn, Remodeling Rockstar. Let's go. Peace, guys.
They're so thorough with every detail of the website. Working with Hook, the design is probably 50x better than any other design I've ever had. Their team is super communicative. And I mean this genuinely. I'm happy to pay you guys to work with us. It's been a tremendous experience.